Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you, YouTube. Thank you, all subscribers, viewers, and supporters of this channel. ISO 14001 version 2015. Are you involved? What is it? It's an environmental management system with international standards. And this management system, the ISO 14001 version 2015, states that it's a management system that manages environmental aspects by fulfilling compliance obligation and addressing risk and opportunities. Good. I think you remember that definition. Now, what is environmental aspects? It's any matter, substance, material, equipment, anything that interacts or can interact with the environment. Fine, that's another definition of environmental aspects. So remember, environmental management system is managing environmental aspects. How to identify environmental aspects? That's the reason I'm having this video. There's a methodology based on old school mechanical engineering whereby we use the mass balance concept, and it is actually an input and output from a particular process. Okay, so we have to use this input output analysis in each of our unit processes to identify all the environmental aspects that is involved, either input and output. And I have an example here of an activity which is seldom being discussed: scheduled waste transit bay. So we will look into this, but before that, let me remind all my Muslim brothers and sisters, please do not watch this video if you are in a mosque attending Friday prayers or any religious lessons by any scholars anywhere around the world at any time, in your time. Okay, thank you very much. Now, before we go on into the input-output analysis, I will be showing you where this process is situated in the entire chronology of the environmental management system establishment. The chronology, the steps, okay? Where is it situated? I will show you that. And then we'll look at a sample of input-output analysis from this process, and then I'll show you the dashboard where I have a table designed to display not only environmental aspects but its evaluation rating, display how we include a column on risk and opportunity, remember, and also on top of that, very importantly, environmental performance evaluation score in what I call the dashboard. All right, let's take a look at the next slide. Now, this is the entire chronology of the implementation of the environmental management system ISO 14001, and we are here in this video identifying this. What? Environmental aspect. Why? Because environmental management system 14001 is managing this item, which is called environmental aspects, by fulfilling compliance obligation and by addressing risk and opportunity. So once these environmental aspects has been identified, all of them, every processes from every department, every activity, and every product of our organization, then we evaluate them. That evaluation criteria and ranking and rating is shown in the dashboard. Why? We need to find out which of all the environmental aspects that we have identified are significant. Significance has, yeah, in a way that it is usually significant in terms of obligations to comply, probably the law, probably terms and conditions of approval, and probably it's what do you call a mandatory sort of aspects, and can has or past incidents records from our company. It has caused some substantial amount of environmental impact in terms of magnitude and severity. So those are the criteria that's being used to identify or to evaluate the significance of impact from these environmental aspects. And we tabulate them here, a register, which I call the dashboard. After we know all the environmental aspects involved in our organizational operation, products and services, we know where we are as far as environmental management is concerned, and what we need to do as far as managing those aspects. From that position, once we know our position in environmental due diligence, then we can set our policy. Please do not establish your policy before knowing what sort of environmental aspects you're dealing with. That would be wrong. Please complete the environmental aspects register, study them first before you perform the policy statement. And from there also we set our objective. This is part of our planning actions to achieve as per the new norm for this ISO 14001, which is called intended outcome. Okay, and once this objective is done, we start to perform, we start to design, or we start to promulgate who, do what, when, and how much in terms of cost. It could be budget, it could be man hour, it could be equipment, it could be some investment in order to perform that particular environmental management program. The word environmental management program is not deleted. It is part of the planning actions to achieve. So do not change what you have already established before this. All right. So the intended outcome is a very clear word, and it somewhere in your objective, somewhere in your environmental management program, we have to ensure that there is this word, enhancement of what? Environmental performance. Okay, and there is effort, there is actions to ensure fulfillment of compliance obligation. It is in the objective, and it can be, and it must be reflected in your management program. And achievement of environmental objectives, that would be part of your intended outcome, meaning result of your environmental management system. Okay, I hope that's clear. Let's take a look at the input-output analysis. This is a picture which I've shown before this in one of our video on the safety, health, environment, how she work in scheduled waste transit. I linked safety, health, and environment in that video, but very brief on environmental management. So let's take a look. This is the activity. Is a transit. It's not the final storage area of scheduled waste. What you have are two drums consisting of hazardous waste, or in Malaysia, we call it scheduled waste. And we got to do, and this is a process. In transit is a process. Okay, it has got to be reflected in your in our aspect impact register. So what's the input output? This is very seldom discussed because it is rather confusing. for many, including myself years ago. Okay, now what comes into this transit bay? The drums, and it is a used drum. Look, it is a refurbished drums. So it is an environmental aspect. Yes, why it can interact with the environment. How does it interact with the environment? Because since it is an input environmental aspect, we got to look at the upstream of its life cycle perspective, meaning where does it come from? This drum was initially a waste drum which initially contained raw mat for this factory. So once the raw mat is being used up, the drum is empty. Okay, so it was from waste. If we go further upstream from the life cycle perspective, then the drum would come from the supplier, would come from a drum fabricator, etc., etc. No, we stop there. We stop. Since it is a transit, it is immediately from the production. It was a waste, but they refurbish it and recycle it. So because of that recycling, there is no need to purchase new drums. Therefore, it is a favor to the environment by virtue of resource conservation. That is the environmental impact, immediate environmental impact for refurbishing and reusing waste material containers. Got it? On the other hand, once it comes in as input, it is just idling there, waiting to be transferred to the main schedule waste storage area and waiting to be transported by schedule waste contractor to the final destination, which will destroy them, probably in incinerator. Okay, so this drum will leave this transit bay, and that will make it as an output environmental aspect. What would be its associated probable environmental impact? Then we find out from its life cycle perspective by looking downstream. In other words, what happens to it next? So it is being collected by a scheduled waste contractor straight to what we call here in Malaysia prescribed premise, where they've got incinerator, and they will incinerate the entire thing with the drum, and that will cause an emission of impurities from the stack of the incinerator, causing air pollution. Of course, they've got scrubbers, they've got dust collectors, but still there are some uh, impurities which pass the standards of emission, but is still present in the air and still blown out into the atmosphere and cause air pollution. And the residue from the incinerator will be dumped in a secure landfill, and for us that is a kind of impact, which is soil contamination. So this is the output input methodology in identifying our environmental aspects. I hope you are clear about this, and those are other examples. I can only give you a few examples because otherwise it's going to be very lengthy, but I hope you understand. Just another example to explain to you perhaps. Let's take a look at this one. Spent lube oil. In Malaysia, it is called SW305. The scheduled waste container, I think it's SW409. Correct me if I'm wrong. And this spent lube oil, it is being sent to a recycler who are able to what you call filter, separate dirt from the oil, probably by heated centrifugation, etc. And that they are able to extract cleaner oil for reuse, and that would cause a less demand for new oil, and in environmental terms the impact will be it is interacting with the environment and causes an impact which is positive, which is called resource conservation. The interaction is less demand for new fossil fuel. Okay, and nonetheless, the extraction, the recycling would cause the formation of some residue because the impurity in the oil will be separated out as a residue, and in this country it is practiced to be sent out to secure landfill of the prescribed premise, and that causes soil contamination because it is still scheduled waste. If you ask me, that residue is resources, but who am I? Okay, we can use it. It's not waste. It is resources, but never mind. I hope you understand how the input-output analysis is being done. So this is an example. You can pause this video and take a look and read, okay? And I want to show you something else. Remember the dashboard? So this is the dashboard that I promise you. There's a format that is for me is convenient to use and practical, especially when we have got to deliver some kind of presentation, especially during management review. We can display this to the board of directors and stakeholders and let them see what sort of environmental aspects that our company is dealing with, from which activity is all there. Okay, we have got the process activity over here, and what are the various environmental aspects involved. This is just three of the environmental aspects. As example, for those of you who have done this before, you have a lengthy list, but still maintain this format, and what sort of environmental impact is associated to it, and all the scores under what we call the evaluation technique. This is the environmental aspects impact evaluation. We use a criteria and rating. That's where they have the score. And if you look at this, the refurbished container from this score less, meaning it becomes less significant because it is causing resource conservation, and it will be reflected in all this. Okay, I'm not showing it here. Also look at spent oil. So these are all actually, after evaluation, becoming less significant because it amounts to resource conservation at this stage and scores and behaves as less significant environmental aspect. But unlike scheduled waste container that is going to incineration or dumped into secure landfill, it will be higher like that. Okay, so this is a sample for you, and remember, risk and opportunities is included in this format. Okay, we have our suggestion or notes over here, and these are all will be used to formulate our objectives and targets and our environmental management program as part of our planning actions to achieve. And in the same format, we have got our environmental performance reflected. This is management performance index, operations performance index, and also environmental conditions index, amounting to the total environmental performance evaluation score that we display here. This is what we're going to display to external auditors who will be coming to our factory and auditors. This is what we're going to display to our corporate auditors, our stakeholders, our top management. These are all displayed here, okay? And they are able to view all this, which is convenient for you. You won't go wrong for all your facts and answers. If they have got questions for you, you're able to answer from this, okay? So I hope that is adequate for our sharing in this video. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you very much, YouTube. I'm honored to display, to share knowledge in your platform is wonderful. I thank you all subscribers and viewers. Okay, and as a Malay, I wish everybody semoga dikurniakan kesenangan, keselamatan, kesejahteraan, kebahagiaan dan kejayaan kehidupan di dunia dan di akhirat. And until we meet in the next video, I wish everybody, whoever you are, anywhere in the world, whatever color you are, even your hair or eyes, I wish you this. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.